Hello class, today we are going to start with part 2, chapter 3, Nationalism in India. First topic is about Simon Commission. Simon Commission was a statutory commission which was set up by the British under Sir John Simon, and the commission was asked to study the constitutional system in India and to suggest if any changes are needed. But the problem was this commission had 7 members and all the members were Englishmen. Not a single Indian member was present in the commission. So Indians, they didn't had any hope of Swaraj when they heard about the Simon Commission. So they opposed it by using banners and rallies, and they didn't allow Simon to come and publish their commission or establish their commission or start their constitutional changes. You can see in this picture how people are standing there with the banner Simon go back, because we don't need a commission which is going to make any constitutional change where there is not a single Indian member. And how can they understand the problem and make any positive change? That was in the people's mind. Now, what were the developments that led to the launching of the civil disobedience movement? So here, Indians have launched a powerful struggle against the Simon Commission, and the government resorted to repression. Repression means forcing, violently doing some action against some person. That is the meaning of repression. So the government started doing all kinds of violence. So, and one more thing was there is Great Depression. The main two reasons for civil disobedience movement was Simon Commission and Great Depression. In Great Depression, crop failure was there, people were not having proper work, and those who were going for industrial works, they were given very low wages, and sometimes they were not even given proper wages, and there was no proper working condition. And in Lahore Congress of 1922, they declared Purna Swaraj, that means complete independence, and they decided to launch the civil disobedience movement. And this movement was inaugurated by Gandhiji by breaking the salt law at Dandi. Now here, this slide explains you about salt march, that is salt satyagraha, how Gandhiji decided to inaugurate civil disobedience movement by breaking the salt law. According to Gandhiji, salt was needed from poorer to poorer till rich people. Everyone needs salt, right? So if the government is imposing tax on salt and the price of salt was very high, so Gandhiji thought that how can poor people afford salt? Salt is one of the important ingredient in our food. So Gandhiji decided to break the law. So he, along with his 78 followers, they started a march on foot from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. And on 6th April 1919, he broke the law by preparing salt by using sea water. And when he broke the law of salt law, and with that he inaugurated civil disobedience movement. These are some of the photos of salt march, salt satyagraha. Now the main features of civil disobedience movement. What were the features? As we know that Gandhiji went to Dandi and he broke the salt law and he inaugurated the movement. So his followers, other people who were there in different places, they also broke the salt law in the same manner. And how did they do? How did they do civil disobedience movement? Is they have boycotted all the foreign goods, and the people, those who are working in the forts and in universities and students studying in universities and colleges, schools and all, they left to their studies. Government service servants people, they resigned their jobs, and in forest also, those people, the tribal people, they started breaking the forest law, and people refused to pay taxes. When all these things were happening, the Britishers, what did they do is they started arresting the leaders, the national leaders who were giving the people the encouragement to do all type of revolt. So according to Britishers, they thought that if you will arrest the leaders, then when there is no leader, then the movement will be called out. But the people, they attacked the government offices and all because they were showing their angriness towards the Britishers for arresting their leaders. Now, when Gandhiji came to understand the situation, he felt that lots of violence were also taking place in so many places. So he called off the movement on 5th March 1931 because the British officer Irwin asked him that we can find a solution to all these problems. So let's have a meeting or a table conference and decide what to do. So Gandhiji signed a Gandhi-Irwin Pact and he called off the movement on 5th March 1931. And he had agreed to attend the second roundtable conference. He went to London, but in that table conference, he didn't find any positive meeting or no meeting about Swaraj and all. So he was very upset. So he came back from London and then he restarted the movement. But then finally, it was called off again in 1934. Now, social groups which participated in civil disobedience movement. When this movement started, many people and many social groups also started participating in the civil disobedience movement because they all were mostly against the Britishers. Rich peasants, poor peasants, business class people, industrial class people, they all participated in the movement. But they all had their different view towards Swaraj. So according to rich peasants, what were their problem was they demanded a reduction in land revenue. That was Swaraj for them, reduction of taxes. Same way, poor peasants, they demanded a reduction in rent. That was Swaraj for them. Business class people, they gave financial help to the movement and also they refused to sell the foreign goods. That was their participation towards the movement. And industrial class people, they also participated in the movement and in their mind they needed better wages and proper working conditions. So according to different social groups, Swaraj was in a different way to them. And the main contributions of the civil disobedience movement was first struggle to win Purna Swaraj or complete independence, and it was totally based on non-violence because Gandhian idea was of non-violence. Women, children, everyone participated in large numbers. Different social groups also participated, and it was an open challenge for the British rule because people without any fear openly disobeyed the laws what were kept in front of them by the Britishers. So these were the main contributions. Purna Swaraj, non-violence, participation in large numbers, whichever social group it is, they also participated and they openly disobeyed the laws. The limitations of civil disobedience movement was Dalits, Muslims, and industrial workers. They faced some problem. The Dalit community, actually what they wanted was reservation in government jobs and separate electorate. That was not taken into consideration by the Congress. Second was Muslims. They didn't participate in civil disobedience because when they are participating in non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji suddenly called off it because of the Chauri Chora. So they felt that if again we are taking part in this movement, it's of no use, and they felt as Congress was moving towards Hindu Mahasabha. So because of that feeling, Muslims didn't participate. And communal rights also took place, disunity between the Hindus and Muslims. Industrial workers, their participation was also minimum because they have also earlier participated in non-cooperation movement, but without any result that movement was called off. So they didn't have any hope in this movement too. That's why they didn't participate. And the efforts which was made by Gandhiji for the upliftment of Dalit was he considered Dalits as Harijan, sons of God. So he said to the upper caste Hindu people that you should not keep this sense of untouchability because if we are keeping so, then what is the need of independence? There should be unity between the people living in the same country. So he said untouchability is not good. So he himself went to the Aryan colonies, cleaned their houses and all. He had a meeting with them. He also invited them to his ashram because in his ashram there was no caste feelings. So he said that these people should be allowed to enter the temple. They should be allowed to use the water from the public well. They should be allowed to use the same road for transportation. They should be allowed for education also. You should not keep any type of untouchability towards them because they are also the same citizens of India. Now in second table conference, there was a clash between Gandhiji and Ambedkar because as Ambedkar was head of the Dalit community, he has demanded for reserved seats and separate electorates. So Gandhiji was very unhappy to hear separate electorates because he said that after all this struggle and after we get our independence, how can we again keep this divide thing of election and all? If election will be there, then it would be for all together. And in election, there would be no barrier for caste, religion, or any type of community. So he said that I will be fasting and I will not allow your this demand of election. So Gandhiji started fasting also. So Ambedkar, he had respect for Gandhiji. So he said that no, I don't want this demand, but you have to agree to my demand for reservation of seats. So Gandhiji decided to leave the fast and then he agreed with Ambedkar that the reservation of seats for university jobs and government jobs and educational institutions will be given to the Dalit community. And the Ambedkar also took back his demand of a separate election. That was the problem which happened between Gandhiji and Ambedkar. Now, the cultural factors and entities which created a sense of collective belongingness among the people. Now, the national leaders and the people, they started feeling that people should have the feeling of oneness. Then only they will march towards the independence or they will be revolting against the Britishers together. So, for that, the great Abhindranath Tagore and Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, these people have given their contribution in sense of collective belongingness. Image of Bharat Mata was introduced, and so many artists have made the images in their own creativity and all that you can see in the textbooks also. Different pictures are there of Bharat Mata, and in the image which was created by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay and all, in that Bharat Mata looked like a sannyasi. She was calm, divine, and spiritual, and it showed her devotion towards to become a proof of nationalism. You can see in this picture, image of Bharat Mata. This is the same picture which is there in your textbook. Vande Mataram. It was a prayer which was written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay towards Bharat Mata, and later on it became the war cry of the Indians. And then it was also included in the novel of Anand Mat, which was written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. So this is Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Then came the national flag. During the Swadeshi movement also we had our national flag, but it looked a little bit different. This is the way. This way it looked. It had 8 lotuses representing the 8 provinces of the British India, and it also had crescent moon and sun, which is showing Hindus and Muslims. Then Gandhiji has introduced the Swaraj flag in 1921, and it had the spinning wheel in between, which is showing Gandhiji's idea of self-help, and now we have the Ashok Chakra in middle. Okay, and this flag became a symbol of the nation. Wherever people went for rallies and all, they took this flag also with them. So the flag became the symbol of the nation. Okay. So thank you.